I want to draw your attention through this short message to a story which is found in 2 Kings chapter 6. The king of Syria was attempting to invade Israel, but the king of Israel was forewarned of any attack by prophet Elisha. Because of this, the king of Syria tried to capture Elisha. So the king of Syria told his soldiers to find out where Elisha is. When he was told that he is in Dothan, the king sent out horses and chariots and a great army to capture him. They went by night and surrounded the city. The next day, when prophet Elisha's servant got up and went out, he saw an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. The servant asked the prophet Elisha through fear, "What shall we do?" "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prayed and asked God to open the eyes of his servant. When the Lord opened the servant's eyes, he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. As the enemies came near Elisha, he prayed to the Lord, "Strike this army with blindness." So God struck them with blindness. There is a similar story I have heard. A medical missionary on furlough told this true story in his sermon while visiting his home church in Michigan. Quote, "While serving at a small field hospital in Africa, every 2 weeks I travel by bicycle through the jungle to a nearby city for supplies. This was a journey of 2 days and required camping overnight at the halfway point. On one of these journeys, I arrived in the city where I planned to collect money from a bank, purchase medicine and supplies, and then begin my 2-way journey back to the field hospital. Upon arrival in the city, I observed 2 men fighting, one of whom had been seriously injured. I treated him for his injuries and at the same time talked to him about Jesus, and I came back home. 2 weeks later, I repeated my journey. Upon arriving in the city, I was approached by the young man I had treated. He told me that he had known that I carried money and medicines. He said, "Some friends and I followed you into the jungle, knowing you would camp overnight. We planned to kill you and take your money and drugs. But just as we were about to move into your camp, we saw that you were surrounded by 26 armed guards." When he said this, I laughed and said that I was certainly all alone in the jungle campsite. However, the young man pressed the point and said, "No, sir, I was not the only person to see the guards. My 5 friends who were with me also saw them, and we all counted them. It was because of those guards that we were afraid and left you alone." Unquote. At this point in the sermon, one of the men in the congregation jumped to his feet and interrupted the missionary and asked if he could tell him the exact day this happened. The missionary told him the date, and the man who interrupted told him his story. "On the night of the incident in Africa, it was morning here, and I was preparing to go play golf. However, I felt the urge to pray for you. In fact, the urging of the Lord was so strong, I called men in the church to meet with me here in the sanctuary to pray for you. Would all those men who met me on that day please stand up?" The men who had met together that day stood up. There were 26. This story is an incredible example of how the Spirit of the Lord moves in mysterious ways due to the prayers of people. I end with 5 quotations of great thinkers about prayer. Andrew Murray, the missionary to South Africa, said, "Most churches do not know that God rules the world by the prayers of his saints." The American Methodist minister E.M. Bounds said, "The church upon its knees would bring heaven upon the earth." Robert Murray McCheyne, the minister in the Church of Scotland, said, "If I could hear Christ praying for me in the next room, I would not fear a million enemies. Yet the distance makes no difference. He is praying for me. William Cooper, the missionary in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, said, Satan trembles when he sees the weakest saint upon his knees. And finally, the American pastor R.A. Torrey said, Pray for great things, expect great things, work for great things, but above all, pray. May God bless you. Amen.